The alarms screamed through the bridge of the Galactic Council flagship. Red lights flashed as Admiral Kang De-ho walked quickly to his command chair. His uniform was neat and clean, just like always. The other officers around him looked worried, but De-ho stayed calm. "What is the problem?" he asked his communications officer. Lieutenant Commander Park So-young turned to face him. Her face was pale. "Sir, we are getting emergency calls from 3 different star systems. The messages are—" "They are very bad, sir." De-ho nodded. "Show me." The main screen came to life. The first message was from a crystal-like alien. Its body was made of what looked like blue glass. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "In a storm. This is Admiral Krithara of the Veltari Defense Fleet," the alien said. Its crystal body was cracked in many places. "Our home world is under attack. The enemy, they eat everything. Our ships, our cities, even our people. We have been fighting for 6 months. We are losing badly. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help." The message ended. The second one started right away. This time it was a fish-like creature. Its blue skin was wet, and it had gills on the sides of its neck. Water dripped from its body as it spoke. "I am Fleet Commander Aquaden of the Mordan Navy," the alien said. "The Devourers have taken 12 of our water worlds. They do not just destroy our planets. They consume them completely. Nothing is left behind, not even dust. Our entire species will be gone in 3 weeks if no one helps us." The third message was the worst. The alien looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and big black eyes. Its voice buzzed like angry bees. "Queen Admiral Buzzeth of the Kithara Hive speaking," it said. "The enemy has broken through our final defense line. They have weapons we do not understand. Our ships explode before we can even shoot back. In 2 days, they will reach our breeding worlds. If those worlds fall, the Kithara will be extinct forever." The screen went dark. The bridge was very quiet. Admiral De-ho looked at his officers. They all looked scared. "How long have we known about this enemy?" De-ho asked. Captain Lee So-min stepped forward. She was the smartest person on the ship when it came to alien languages. "Sir, the first reports came in 6 months ago, but the messages were very confused. Many different alien words for the same thing. We thought it was just normal space pirates or small wars between planets." "And now?" De-ho asked. "Now we know it is much worse," So-min said. "The enemy calls themselves the Devourers. They have very big ships. The aliens say these ships can fix themselves even when they are damaged. The Devourers seem to eat planets and turn them into energy for their fleet." De-ho walked to the big window that showed space outside. Far away, he could see Earth. It looked small and blue and peaceful, but he knew that looks could trick you. "How many ships do the aliens have left?" he asked. Lieutenant Commander Park answered. "The Veltari started with 3,000 ships. Now they have maybe 500 that can still fight. The Mordan had 2,000 ships. Now they have about 300. The Kithara are in the worst shape. They had 4,000 ships, but now only 200 are still working. So they had 9,000 ships total," De-ho said. "Now they have only 1,000. The enemy destroyed 8,000 alien warships in 6 months." "Yes, sir," Park said. "And the aliens say the enemy fleet keeps getting bigger. Every planet they eat makes them stronger." De-ho thought about this. The 3 alien races were not weak. He had seen their ships before. They had good weapons and smart commanders. If something could destroy 8,000 of their ships so easily, it was very dangerous. "Sir," Captain Lee said, There is something else. The aliens are asking for help from Earth. From Earth? Daeho was surprised. How do they even know about our military? Some of their scout ships have been watching our war games, Lee explained. They saw our fleet exercises near Mars last year. They think we might have weapons that can help them. Daeho almost smiled. The aliens had no idea what human weapons could really do. Those exercises near Mars were just basic training. The real military ships were much more powerful. What do our orders say? Daeho asked. His second officer, Commander Yoon Jae-hyun, handed him a datapad. Earth Command wants us to help if we can. But they say we should be very careful. We do not know much about this enemy. Daeho read the orders. They were clear but simple. Help the aliens if possible. Learn about the enemy. Protect human interests. Do not take big risks. Contact Admiral Park Jin-woo, Daeho said. Tell him to prepare the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet for immediate deployment. Sir, are you sure? Commander Yoon asked. The 3rd Fleet is our strongest battle group. If something happens to them, something is going to happen anyway, Daeho said. If this enemy destroys the 3 alien races, they will look for new targets. Earth will be on that list eventually. The bridge crew worked quickly to send the message. While they waited for an answer, Daeho studied the alien messages again. The Devourers sounded very dangerous, but humans had been preparing for space, war for a long time. Maybe longer than any other race in the galaxy. 20 minutes later, Admiral Park Jin-woo's face appeared on the screen. He was a tall man with short gray hair and serious eyes. His uniform had many medals on it. Admiral Daeho, Park said, I got your message. The 3rd Fleet can be ready to leave in 6 hours. Do we know where the enemy is? The main battle is happening in the Altair system, Daeho said. 3 alien fleets are making their last stand there. If they lose, the enemy will have a clear path to attack 20 more star systems. How many enemy ships? Park asked. The aliens are not sure. Maybe 2,000. Possibly more, Park nodded. The 3rd Fleet has 400 ships. Is that enough? Daeho looked at the alien messages one more time. The crystal alien, the fish alien, and the insect alien all looked very afraid. They had fought this enemy for 6 months and lost almost everything. Admiral Park, Daeho said, I think 400 human ships will be more than enough. Park smiled just a little. I think so too. We will leave as soon as we are ready. The screen went dark. Admiral Daeho turned to his crew. Send a message. To the alien fleets. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold their positions for 3 more weeks. 3 weeks, sir? Captain Lee asked. That is how long it will take our fleet to reach them, Daeho said. After that, this war will be over very quickly. He did not say who would win, but everyone on the bridge could see the confidence in his eyes. The aliens thought they were fighting an impossible enemy. They had no idea that humans had been preparing for this kind of war for centuries. Soon, the galaxy would learn what human military science could really do. The human fleet moved through space like a school of metal fish. 400 ships flew in perfect formation toward the Altair system. At the center of the fleet was the biggest ship of all. The dreadnought Inchen's Pride was 2 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. On the bridge of the Inchen's Pride, Admiral Park Jin-woo stood looking at a big star map. Red dots showed where the enemy was attacking. Blue dots showed where the alien fleets were trying to fight back. There were a lot more red dots than blue ones. Admiral, said Captain Kim Hyrin, walking up to him. All ships report ready for battle. We will reach the Altair system in 18 days. Park nodded, but did not take his eyes off the map. What do we know about this enemy? Dr. Kim Hyejin stepped forward. She was the chief science officer and the smartest person on the ship. Her job was to study alien technology and find ways to fight it. Not much, sir, Dr. Kim said. The alien reports are not very clear, but I have been studying what they told us. The Devourer ships seem to be alive somehow. They can fix themselves when they get damaged. They also seem to work together like a team, but we do not know how. What about their weapons? Park asked. The aliens say the Devourers have energy beams that can cut through any armor, Dr. Kim said. They also have something that makes alien ships explode from the inside, but we do not know how it works. Park turned to look at her. Do you think our ships can fight them? Dr. Kim smiled a little. Sir, I think our ships are very different from alien ships. The aliens use old technology. We use much newer and better technology. If I am right about how the enemy weapons work, our ships should be able to stop them easily. Across the bridge, Communications Officer Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin was listening to alien radio messages. Most of them were calls for help or reports about lost battles. The aliens sounded very scared. Admiral, Lieutenant Bae said, I am getting more messages from the battle zone. The aliens are losing more ships every day. The Veltari have lost another 50 ships since yesterday. Park walked to his command chair and sat down. Send a message to all ship captains. I want to talk to them. A few minutes later, the main screen showed 12 different people. These were the captains of the most important ships in the fleet. Park knew all of them well. They had fought together in many battles before. Captains, Park said, we are going to fight an enemy we know very little about. But that does not worry me. Do you know why? Captain Yoon Tae-young of the destroyer, Busan Lightning, spoke first. Because we have trained for this, sir. We have run thousands of battle simulations against unknown enemies. That is right, Park said. Captain Choi, what is the most important thing in any battle? Commander Choi Min-ah of the carrier Jeju Storm answered quickly. Information, sir. We need to know how the enemy thinks and fights. Good, Park said. And how do we get that information? We watch them fight, said Captain Oh Dong-hyun of the cruiser Soul's Hammer. We study their tactics. We find their weaknesses. Park nodded. The aliens have been fighting this enemy for 6 months. They have learned many things, but they do not know how to use what they learned. We will learn everything in the first few minutes of battle. The captains all looked confident. They knew Admiral Park was right. Human military training was very different from alien training. Humans studied war like it was science. They broke down every battle into small pieces and figured out exactly why things happened. Dr. Kim, Park said, show them your analysis. Dr. Kim stepped forward. I have been thinking about the enemy ships. The aliens say they are alive and can fix themselves. This tells me they are probably biological ships, not metal ones like ours. Biological ships have many advantages, but they also have weaknesses. She pressed a button and the screen showed a diagram. If the ships are alive, they need energy to stay alive. They also need to communicate with each other somehow. If we can find their communication system and break it, the ships will not be able to work together. Captain Nam Yoon-jung of the battleship, Daigu's Fury, asked, what if you are wrong about them being biological? Then we use Plan B, Dr. Kim said. Or Plan C or Plan D. We have 47 different battle plans ready. No matter what kind of enemy this is, we have a way to fight them. Admiral Park stood up. "That is why we will win this battle. The aliens only know one way to fight. They point their ships at the enemy and shoot until someone dies. Humans know hundreds of ways to fight. We pick the best way for each situation." For the next 2 weeks, the human fleet practiced every day. The ships would spread out across space and then practice different attack formations. Sometimes the destroyers would attack first. Sometimes the carriers would send out their small fighter ships. Sometimes the big battleships would move to the front and use their heavy guns. Sergeant Major Lim Jae-sung trained his Marines for boarding enemy ships. Even though they probably would not need to board any ships, it was good to be ready. The Marines practice fighting in zero gravity and wearing spacesuits. "Remember," Sergeant Major Lim told his men, "we do not know what these aliens look like or how they fight up close. Stay together, watch each other's backs, and follow orders." Exactly. On the Jeju Storm, Commander Choi Mina worked with her fighter pilots. The carrier had 300 small fighter ships inside it. Each fighter was controlled by a smart computer, but human pilots could take control if needed. The alien reports. "Say enemy ships are very big," Commander Choi told her pilots. "Our fighters are very small and fast. If we need to attack, we will use hit-and-run tactics. Get in, shoot, and get out before they can shoot back." Captain Yoon Tae-young spent most of his time studying the alien battle reports. His destroyer was built for speed and quick attacks. He needed to understand exactly how the enemy moved so he could attack their weak spots. "Their ships seem to move in groups of 10 or 20, he told his crew. "If we can separate one group from the others, we can destroy it easily." Dr. Kim Hye-jin worked 18 hours a day trying to understand the enemy. She read every alien report and watched every piece of battle footage. Slowly, she began to see patterns. "I think I know how they communicate," she told Admiral Park on the last day of the journey. "The alien reports mention that enemy ships sometimes stop fighting for a few seconds. I think that is when they are talking to each other. If I can find the right frequency, I can probably break their communication system." Park looked at the star map. They were almost at the Altair system now. In 6 hours, they would see the enemy for themselves. "Dr. Kim," he said, "are you ready?" She nodded. "Yes, sir. I have 17 different ways to attack their communication system. At least one of them should work." Park smiled. "Good, because in 6 hours, we are going to end this war." He did not sound worried or excited. He sounded like a man who was about to do a job he had trained for his whole life. Around the bridge, the crew got ready for battle. They checked their weapons, ran system tests, and made sure everything was working perfectly. The human fleet was ready for war. Space around the Altair system looked like a graveyard. Broken pieces of alien ships floated everywhere. Some pieces were as big as buildings. Others were as small as cars. They all glowed with different colors as they burned in the cold vacuum of space. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Admiral Park Jin-woo stood on his bridge and watched the destruction through the main viewer. He had seen many battlefields before, but this one was different. It was not just a battle. It was a massacre. "Report," Park said calmly. Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin worked quickly at her station. "Sir, I count approximately 800 alien ships, still fighting. They are divided into 3 groups. The enemy has..." She paused and checked her readings again. "Sir, the enemy has over 2,000 ships." 2,000, Park repeated. He did not sound surprised or worried. "And they are winning." "Yes, sir," Lieutenant Bae said. The alien ships are falling back toward the fourth planet. They seem to be trying to protect something there. Dr. Kim Hai-jin was studying the enemy ships through her scanners. Admiral, you need to see this. The enemy ships are not like anything in our databases. The main screen changed to show a close-up view of the battle. The alien ships looked normal. They were metal and had the usual weapons and engines. But the enemy ships were very different. The Devourer ships looked alive. They were dark red and black, with surfaces that moved like skin. Some had long tentacles that reached out to grab alien ships. Others had mouths full of teeth that could bite through metal armor. When the alien weapons hit them, the Devourer ships would heal themselves in just a few seconds. They are definitely biological, Dr. Kim said. Look at how they move. They do not fly like normal ships. They swim through space like fish in water. Captain Yoon Tae-young was watching from his destroyer. Sir, request permission to move closer. I want to study their attack patterns. Denied, Park said. We watch first. We learn. Then we act. The battle was not going well for the aliens. Even as the humans watched, 3 more alien ships exploded. The Devourer ships worked together perfectly. When one was damaged, others would protect it while it healed. When they attacked, they moved like a pack of wolves. Sir, Lieutenant Bay said, I am getting a communication from the alien fleet. They want to talk to us. Put them through, Park said. The screen split into 3 parts. Each part showed one of the alien commanders. Admiral Kristhara of the Veltari looked like a crystal statue that was falling apart. Fleet Commander Aquaden of the Mordan was covered in his own blue blood. Queen Admiral Buzzeth of the Kithara had lost 2 of her 4 arms. Human ships, Admiral Kristhara said. Her voice sounded like breaking glass. Thank the stars you are here. We have been fighting for so long. Please help us attack the enemy. We must strike now before they bring more ships. Admiral Park looked at the alien commanders for a moment. They were brave, but they did not understand what they were fighting. Admiral Kristhara, how long have you been fighting these ships? 6 hours without stopping, she said. Before that, we fought them for 3 days at the second planet. We have been retreating ever since. And in all that time, how many enemy ships have you destroyed? Park asked. The aliens looked at each other. Fleet Commander Aquaden answered. We have damaged many of them, but they heal so quickly. I do not think we have actually destroyed any. Not one? Park asked. The enemy is too strong, Queen Admiral Buzzeth said. Their weapons are too powerful. Their armor is too thick. We need your help to break through their defenses. Park nodded slowly. We will help you, but not the way you think. What do you mean? Admiral Kristhara asked. You want us to join your attack, Park said. But your attack is not working. You have been fighting the same way for 6 months. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. The aliens looked confused. Fleet Commander Aquaden said, Then what do you suggest? We suggest you retreat to a safe distance, Park said. Let us study the enemy. Let us understand how they fight. Then we will show you how this battle should be fought. Retreat? Queen Admiral Buzzeth buzzed angrily. We cannot retreat any further. If we lose the 4th planet, the enemy will have a clear path to our home worlds. The 4th planet is already lost, Park said gently. Look at your formations. Look at your casualty rates. You are losing 10 ships for every hour you stay here. In 12 hours, you will have no ships left at all. The aliens were quiet for a moment. They knew Admiral Park was right, but they did not want to admit it. How long do you need to study them? Admiral Kristhara asked finally. Dr. Kim Hye-jin whispered something to Admiral Park. He nodded and turned back to the aliens. 20 minutes, Park said. 20 minutes? Fleet Commander Aquaden could not believe it. We have been studying them for 6 months, and we still do not understand them. You have been fighting them for 6 months, Park corrected. Fighting and studying are 2 different things. When you are fighting, you are too busy trying to survive to really understand your enemy. Admiral Park turned to his crew. All ships, maintain current position. Begin full spectrum analysis of enemy forces. I want to know everything about them. In 15 minutes. The human ships spread out in a wide line. They did not move toward the battle. They just watched and recorded everything. Their sensors were much more advanced than alien sensors. In minutes, they were collecting more information than the aliens had gathered in months. Dr. Kim Hye-jin worked at her station like a woman possessed. Data flowed across her screens faster than most people could read. But she could read it all. She had trained her whole life for this moment. I have their communication frequency, she announced after 5 minutes. They use quantum entanglement to talk to each other instantly across long distances. Very clever. Can you break it? Park asked. I can do better than that, Dr. Kim said, with a smile. I can turn it against them. Captain Yoon was studying the enemy attack patterns. Sir, they always attack in groups of 12 ships, no more, no less. And they always approach from the same angle relative to their target. Predictable, Park said. What else? Commander Choi was watching the enemy formations. They have 3 types of ships: small fast ones, medium fighting ones, and big command ships. The command ships stay in the back and give orders to the others. Very predictable, Park said. Dr. Kim, how long until you can break their communication? I need 5 more minutes to understand their encryption, she said. Then I can cut off the small ships from their command ships. They will not know what to do without orders. Lieutenant Bay was listening to alien communications. Sir, the alien commanders are asking when we will attack. They are getting very worried. Park looked at the battlefield again. The aliens were still losing ships, but they had bought him the time he needed. Now he understood the enemy completely. Signal all ships, Park said. Prepare for battle. This war ends in the next hour. Sir, Captain Yoon said, the enemy has 2,000 ships. We have 400. Are you sure we have enough? Admiral Park Jin-woo looked at his young captain and smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who knew something that others did not. Captain Yoon, he said, we do not need more ships. We just need better tactics. The aliens have been trying to fight a wolf pack with sheep. We are not sheep. He turned to the main screen and looked at the Devourer fleet. They were still attacking the aliens, still destroying ships every few minutes. They had no idea that their destruction was only minutes away. What are we then, sir? Captain Yoon asked. Park's smile got bigger. We are humans, and humans do not just fight wars. We end them. The alien fleets continued their desperate retreat, while the human ships remained perfectly still. To the aliens, it looked like the humans were doing nothing. But Admiral Park Jin-woo knew that his people were doing the most important work of all. They were turning war into science. Commander Choi Min-ah stood on the bridge of the carrier Jeju Storm. Around her, dozens of officers worked at glowing screens. Each screen showed a different piece of information about the enemy. Ship movements, weapon patterns, formation changes, communication signals. Everything was being recorded and analyzed. Launch reconnaissance drones, Commander Choi ordered. I want them to get as close as possible without being detected. 100 small drones shot out from the carrier. They were no bigger than birds, but they carried sensors that could count the rivets on an enemy ship from 1,000 kilometers away. The drones spread out and began flying through the battle zone. The Devourer ships did not even notice them. They were too busy destroying alien ships to worry about small flying objects. This was their first mistake. On the dreadnought Inchan's Pride, Dr. Kim Hye-jin watched the data from the drones flow across her screens. Every few seconds, she made small sounds of discovery. Ah! And I see! And that explains everything! Dr. Wei. Kim, Admiral Park said. Talk to me. Sir, the enemy ships are more biological than I thought, she said. Look at this. She put an image on the main screen. It showed the inside of a Devourer ship. They do not have computers or control panels. The entire ship is one giant living creature. The crew does not control the ship. They are part of the ship. Captain Lee So-min was working with the xenobiology team. They were trying to understand how the Devourer creatures thought. Admiral, we think we know why they are so good at working together. They are not individual ships working as a team. They are one giant organism that happens to be spread across many different bodies. Like a hive mind? Park asked. Yes, but more than that, Captain Lee said. Think of it like this. Your hand and your foot are parts of the same body. They work together because they are controlled by the same brain. The Devourer ships work together because they share the same mind. Dr. Seo Kyung-ho, the team's xenobiologist, stepped forward. Sir, this explains everything we have seen. The enemy always attacks in perfect coordination because they are not coordinating. They are just different parts of the same creature doing what that creature wants. Admiral Park nodded. This information was very useful. Dr. Kim, can you use this against them? I think so, she said. If they all share the same mind, then they all use the same communication network. If I can break that network, all the ships will be cut off from each other. They will not know what to do. How long? Park asked. 10 more minutes, Dr. Kim said. Maybe 15. While Dr. Kim worked on breaking the enemy communication, the other officers continued their analysis. Captain Yoon Tae-young was studying how the enemy ships moved. He had noticed something interesting. Admiral, Captain Yoon said, the enemy ships always move in the same patterns. When they attack a target, they always approach from the same direction. When they retreat, they always fall back to the same positions. When they are damaged, they always go to the same place to heal. They are following a program, Park said. Like computers. Exactly, Captain Yoon said. Which means we can predict what they will do next. Lieutenant Colonel Shin Ye-sol was in charge of the fleet's artificial intelligence systems. Her job was to make sure the human computers could outthink any enemy computers. But this enemy did not have computers in the normal sense. Sir, Lieutenant Colonel Shin said, I have been watching the enemy decision-making process. When they encounter a new situation, they always take exactly 2.7 seconds to decide what to do. This suggests they have to check with some kind of central command before they can act. Where is this central command? Park asked. Commander Choi answered from her carrier. Sir, our drones have identified 17 large ships that stay. In the back of the enemy formation, these ships do not fight. They just send signals to the other ships. Command ships, Park said. Take out the command ships, and the rest will not know what to do. Dr. Kim looked up from her work. Sir, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that I have broken their communication encryption. I can cut Off any ship from the network whenever I want. The bad news is that there are backup systems. If I cut off too many ships at once, the Central Command will notice and change all their frequencies. How many ships can you cut off without being noticed? Park asked. Maybe 50 or 60, Dr. Kim said, but only for a few minutes before they notice something is wrong. Admiral Park thought about this. The enemy had over 2,000 ships. Cutting off 50 or 60 would not be enough to win the battle, but it might be enough to create an opportunity. Captain Nam Yun-jung called from the battleship Daegu's Fury. Admiral, I have been studying their weapons. The aliens were right about the energy beams. They can cut through any normal armor, but our ships do not use normal armor. Explain, Park said. Our armor is made of layered metamaterials, Captain Nam said. Their energy beams are designed to cut through metal, but metamaterials bend energy around them instead of absorbing it. I think our ships can survive their attacks. You think? Park asked. I am 95% certain, Captain Nam said. Maybe 97%. Admiral Park almost smiled. In most militaries, officers would not attack unless they were 100% certain of success. But humans had learned that waiting for perfect certainty meant never acting at all. 95% certainty was good enough. Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin was still listening to alien communications. Sir, the alien commanders are getting very worried. They want to know when we will attack. Admiral Krithara says her fleet cannot hold out much longer. Park looked at the battle. The aliens had lost another 30 ships while the humans were studying the enemy. But those 30 ships had bought valuable information. Now the humans knew everything they needed to know. Dr. Kim, Park said. Are you ready? Yes, sir, she said. I can cut off 60 enemy ships for exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds. After that, they will notice and change their frequencies. Commander Choi, are your fighters ready? Yes, sir, she said. 300 fighters loaded and ready to launch. Captain Yoon, can your destroyers reach the enemy command ships? Yes, sir, he said. If we move fast and use the right approach pattern, we can be there in 3 minutes. Captain Nam, are your battleships ready for a frontal assault? Yes, sir, she said. My ships can take anything the enemy can throw at us. Admiral Park looked around his bridge. Every officer was ready. Every system was working perfectly. Every plan was in place. He had studied this enemy for 20 minutes, and now he understood them completely. The aliens had been fighting for 6 months because they were trying to fight like the enemy. They matched formation against formation, weapon against weapon, tactic against tactic. But that was not how humans fought. Humans did not try to be better at the enemy's game. Humans changed the rules of the game entirely. Signal all ships, Admiral Park said. Execute Omega Protocol. Around him, his officers began working with calm efficiency. No one was excited or nervous. This was just another job, and they were very good at their jobs. The alien commanders did not know it yet, but their war was about to end. Not because the humans were stronger or had better weapons, but because humans understood something about war that no other species had ever learned. War was not about who could fight the hardest. War was about who could think the smartest. And when it came to thinking, humans had no equals in the galaxy. The moment Admiral Park gave the order, the human fleet transformed. 400 ships that had been sitting perfectly still suddenly moved with the precision of a machine. Each ship knew exactly where to go and exactly what to do. The alien commanders watched in amazement as the human formation changed. The ships did not move in a simple line or a basic attack pattern. Instead, they flowed through space like water, bending and shifting in ways that seemed impossible. "What are they doing?" Admiral Christhara asked. Her crystal body was shaking with exhaustion from the long battle. "I do not know," Fleet Commander Aquaden replied. "I have never seen ships move like that." The human fleet was using a formation that no alien species had ever developed. It was called the Omega Protocol, and it had taken human military scientists 50 years to perfect. The formation looked chaotic, but every movement was carefully planned. At the center of the formation, Admiral Park watched his fleet move toward the enemy. The Devourer ships had noticed the human movement and were turning to face them. Over 2,000 biological ships began swimming through space toward the 400 human vessels. "Dr. Kim," Park said calmly, "execute communication disruption." "Yes, sir," Dr. Kim said. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Targeting 60 ships in the enemy left flank, cutting communication links now." Across the battlefield, 60 Devourer ships suddenly stopped moving. They had been cut off from the hive mind that controlled them. For a few seconds, they just floated in space, not knowing what to do. "Captain Yoon," Park said, "attack the command ships." "Roger that," Captain Yoon replied from his destroyer. "All destroyers follow me." 20 human destroyers broke away from the main formation. They were small and fast, and they moved like arrows shot from a bow. The Devourer ships tried to stop them, but the destroyers were too quick. Captain Yoon's ship, the Busan Lightning, led the charge. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Min-ho, had been waiting for this moment for months. "Target acquired, Lieutenant," Park said. "Enemy command ship, distance 50,000 kilometers. Fire quantum disruption torpedoes," Captain Yoon ordered. The Busan Lightning fired 6 torpedoes. They were not like normal torpedoes. These weapons could travel through space faster than light and hit their target before the enemy even knew they had been fired. The first Devourer command ship exploded in a ball of blue fire. The explosion was so bright that it could be seen from the other side of the solar system. But more importantly, when the command ship died, the 40 ships it was controlling stopped working. "Command ship destroyed," Captain Yoon reported. "Moving to next target." While the destroyers attacked the command ships, Commander Choi's fighters were doing their job. 300 small fighter ships poured out of the carrier Jeju storm like angry bees. Each fighter was controlled by an artificial intelligence that could think faster than any biological brain. The Devourer ships tried to shoot down the fighters, but they were too small and too fast. The fighters swarmed around the enemy ships, like insects, firing weapons that could punch holes through armor 3 meters thick. "Fighters engaging enemy fleet," Commander Choi reported. "No casualties so far?" But the most impressive sight was the human battleships. Ships like Captain Nam's Daigu's Fury moved straight toward the biggest Devourer vessels. The enemy ships fired their energy beams, the same weapons that had been destroying alien ships for 6 months. The beams hit the human battleships and nothing happened. The energy bent around the ship's metamaterial armor like water flowing around a rock. The weapons that had terrorized the galaxy for half a year were completely useless against human technology. "Direct hit on the Daigu's Fury," reported Lieutenant Bay. "No damage." "Direct hit on the Soul's Hammer," she said a few seconds later. "No damage." Admiral Christhara could not believe what she was seeing. "How are they doing that? Those energy beams destroyed our strongest ships." Admiral Park heard her question through the communication link. "Admiral Christhara, your ships are made of metal and ceramic. Our ships are made of materials that do not exist in nature. We built them specifically to fight energy weapons. The Devourer ships were starting to panic. Their most powerful weapons were not working. Their command ships were being destroyed one by one. Their communication network was being disrupted. Nothing like this had ever happened to them before. Dr. Seo Kyung-ho was studying the enemy reaction. "Sir, the Devourer ships are trying to retreat, but they cannot retreat because some of them are cut off from the hive mind. They do not know which direction to go." "Perfect," Admiral Park said. "Dr. Kim, extend the communication disruption. Cut off another 100 ships." "Yes, sir," Dr. Kim said. "Targeting ships in the center formation. Communication links severed. Now 100. And 60 Devourer ships were floating helplessly in space. They could see the battle happening around them, but they could not join in because they did not know what to do without orders from the hive mind. Captain Yoon had destroyed 5 command ships already. Each time a command ship died, dozens of other ships stopped working properly. The enemy formation was starting to fall apart. 6th command ship destroyed, Captain Yoon reported. Enemy fleet coordination is breaking down. Lieutenant Colonel Shin was coordinating the artificial intelligence systems. The human computers were analyzing the battle in real time and making thousands of small adjustments every second. "Sir," Lieutenant Colonel Shin said, "our AI systems have identified the enemy weakness. The Devourer ships cannot fight as individuals. They only know how to fight as a group. When we separate them from the group, they become easy targets." Admiral Park nodded. This was exactly what he had expected. The enemy's greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. They were very good at working together, but they were helpless when they had to work alone. "All ships," Park announced. "Begin Phase 2. Target isolated enemy vessels." The human fleet split into dozens of small groups. Each group surrounded a cluster of confused Devourer ships and destroyed them quickly and efficiently. It was not a battle anymore. It was more like farmers harvesting crops. Commander Choi's fighters were having a field day. The enemy ships that were still connected to the hive mind were trying to help their disconnected allies. But this made them predictable and easy to attack. "Enemy fighters approaching our position," reported Fighter Squadron Leader Major Kim. Taewon. "Engaging now!" The battle between the fighters was over in 30 seconds. The Devourer biofighters were fast and deadly when they worked together, but the human fighters had better weapons, better armor, and better tactics. More importantly, each human fighter could think and make decisions on its own. Captain Nam's battleships were pushing deeper into the enemy formation. The Devourer ships kept firing their energy beams, but they might as well have been shooting flashlights at armored tanks. "This is ridiculous," Captain Nam said to her crew. "They are not even hurting our paint." Her weapons officer, Commander Lee Jun-ho, was targeting the biggest enemy ships. "Ma'am, requesting permission to use heavy plasma cannons." "Permission? Granted," Captain Nam said. "Show them what real weapons look like." The Daigu's Fury fired its main guns. Beams of superheated plasma shot across space and hit 3 Devourer ships. The ships did not just explode, they were completely vaporized. 1 second they were there, the next second they were clouds of glowing gas. The alien commanders watched the human attack with growing amazement. They had been fighting this enemy for 6 months and had barely scratched them. The humans had been fighting for 15 minutes and were destroying enemy ships faster than the aliens could count. "How many enemy ships have been destroyed?" Fleet Commander Aquaden asked his sensors officer. "Sir, I count 430 destroyed, another 200 severely damaged, and they are still losing ships every few seconds." Queen Admiral Buzzeth was speechless. In 15 minutes, The humans had destroyed more enemy ships than the aliens had destroyed in 6 months. "Admiral Park," she said finally. "How is this possible?" Admiral Park looked calm and relaxed, as if he was watching a training exercise, instead of the biggest space battle in galactic history. "Queen Admiral," he said, "you have been fighting this enemy the wrong way. You tried to match their strengths with your strengths, but the correct way to fight is to use your strengths against their weaknesses." "But we tried everything," Admiral Kristara protested. "Different formations, different weapons, different tactics. Nothing worked." "You tried alien tactics," Park said. "Those tactics were developed for fighting other aliens. This enemy is different, so they require different tactics. Human tactics." Dr. Kim looked up from her station. "Sir, the enemy is attempting to change their communication frequencies. I can maintain the disruption for 3 more minutes. That will be enough," Park said. "Captain Yoon, how many command ships are left?" "5, sir," Captain Yoon replied. "We will have them all destroyed in 2 minutes." Admiral Park allowed himself a small smile. The battle was going exactly as he had planned. In 17 minutes, the human fleet had turned a hopeless alien defeat into a complete human victory. The galaxy was about to learn that there was a difference between fighting wars and winning them. What happened next was not a battle. It was a demonstration of how war should be fought when one side understood science and the other side did not. The human fleet moved through the Devourer formation like a surgeon's knife. Every cut was precise. Every strike was calculated. Every movement served a purpose. The aliens watched in fascination and growing fear as the humans destroyed an enemy that had seemed unstoppable just minutes before. Captain Yoon's destroyers had finished their mission. All 17 Devourer command ships were nothing but glowing debris. Without their command structure, over 800 enemy ships were floating helplessly in space, cut off from the hive mind that told them what to do. "Last command ship destroyed," Captain Yoon reported. His voice was calm and professional. "All enemy coordination has been eliminated." Admiral Park nodded. "Excellent work. All destroyers, move to Phase 3. Begin harvesting operations." The destroyers spread out across the battlefield. Their job now was to hunt down the remaining enemy ships one by one. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. The Devourer ships that were still connected to the hive mind were trying to help their disconnected allies, but this made them easy targets. Commander Choi's fighters were having the time of their lives. 300 small ships swarmed around confused enemy vessels like predators around wounded prey. The Devourer ships tried to fight back, but they were used to fighting enemies that moved in predictable patterns. Human fighters moved like nothing they had ever seen before. "Fighter Squadron Alpha, engaging enemy Cluster 7, reported Squadron Leader Major Kim Tae-wan. "Enemy ships are not returning fire effectively. I think they are confused." "Fighter Squadron Beta, moving to support Alpha," said Squadron Leader Major Oh Soo-min. "These things do not know how to fight small targets." The fighters used weapons that the aliens had never seen. Instead of energy beams or missile warheads, the human fighters fired something called reality anchors. These weapons reached into the quantum structure of matter and changed the fundamental laws of physics in a small area around the target. When a reality anchor hit a Devourer ship, the ship simply stopped being alive. The biological systems that allowed it to heal itself and communicate with other ships just stopped working. The ship became a dead piece of meat floating in space. "This is incredible," breathed Dr. Seo Kyung-ho. The enemy ships are biological, so they depend on quantum processes to stay alive. The reality anchors disrupt those processes. The ships literally forget how to be alive. Captain Nam's battleships were dealing with the biggest enemy vessels. These were massive creatures, some of them 10 kilometers long. They had weapons that could destroy planets and armor that could stop nuclear bombs. But they had never faced weapons like the ones humans carried. "Target the big one," Captain Nam ordered. Her weapons officer, Commander Lee Jun-ho, was studying a devourer ship that was the size of a small moon. "Quantum Cascade torpedo loaded and ready," Commander Lee reported. "Fire," Captain Nam said. The torpedo flew through space at 90% the speed of light. When it hit the giant devourer ship, it did not explode in the normal sense. Instead, it created a cascade of quantum reactions that spread through the ship's biological systems like a disease. The massive creature began to fall apart from the inside. Its armor cracked, its weapons stopped working, its healing systems turned against it and began destroying healthy tissue. In 30 seconds, a ship that had taken decades to grow was reduced to cosmic dust. "Target destroyed," Commander Lee reported. "Moving to next target." The alien commanders could not believe what they were seeing. Admiral Christhera's crystal body was glowing with amazement. "Admiral Park, what kind of weapons are those? We have never seen anything like them." "Quantum weapons," Admiral Park replied. "They attack the fundamental structure of matter itself. Your enemy's ships are made of living tissue. Our weapons make that tissue forget how to be alive." Fleet Commander Aquaden was studying the human attack patterns. "But how did you know to bring quantum weapons? We never told you the enemy ships were biological." "We did not know," Park said. "So we brought weapons that work against every possible type of enemy. Quantum weapons for biological ships, plasma weapons for metal ships, gravity weapons for energy beings, temporal weapons for dimensional invaders. We prepare for everything." Queen Admiral Buzzeth was speechless. Her species had been fighting wars for thousands of years, but they had never thought to prepare for enemies they had not met yet. Humans, apparently, had been doing exactly that. Dr. Kim Hee-jin was still disrupting enemy communications, but it was getting easier. With the command ships destroyed, the hive mind was fragmenting. Individual groups of ships were trying to form their own networks, but they did not know how. "Sir," Dr. Kim said, "the enemy communication system is collapsing. They are trying to adapt, but they do not understand how their own technology works. I think the command ships were the only ones who knew how to manage the network." "Excellent," Park said. "How many enemy ships are still functional?" Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin checked her sensors. "Sir, I count approximately 600 enemy ships still capable of fighting, but they are scattered across 1,000,000 cubic kilometers of space. They have no coordination and no leadership." Admiral Park looked at the tactical display. The enemy fleet that had numbered over 2,000 ships 20 minutes ago was now broken into dozens of small groups. Some groups had only 1 or 2 ships. Others had 10 or 20. None of them knew what the others were doing. "All ships," Park announced. "Begin cleanup operations. Destroy remaining enemy vessels." What followed was not a battle. It was an extermination. Human ships moved systematically from one enemy group to another. The devourer ships tried to fight, but they were like children trying to fight trained soldiers. Commander Oh Dong-hyun's cruiser, Soul's Hammer, found a group of 15 enemy ships hiding behind an asteroid. "Enemy ships detected. Range 40,000 kilometers. Requesting permission to engage." "Permission granted," Admiral Park said. "Use standard assault pattern. The Soul's hammer fired a single salvo from its main guns. 15 beams of coherent energy crossed space in less than a second. 15 enemy ships disappeared in flashes of light. The entire engagement lasted 8 seconds. Captain Choi Soo-jin's frigate Daejeon's Edge encountered a cluster of devourer ships that were trying to flee the battle. Enemy ships attempting to escape. Shall I pursue? Negative, Park said. Let them run. Track their course and inform Earth Command. We want to know where they came from. But most of the enemy ships were not trying to escape. They were trying to fight. The problem was that they did not know how to fight as individuals. For their entire existence, they had been part of a hive mind. They had never needed to think for themselves. Sergeant Major Lim Jae-sung was ready to lead boarding parties onto enemy ships, but it turned out to be unnecessary. The few devourer ships that were captured intact were found to be empty. The biological crew members had died when their connection to the hive mind was severed. "Sir," Sergeant Major Lim reported, "the enemy crews cannot survive without their network connection. When we cut them off from the hive mind, they simply stop living." "Understood," Park said. "Continue search and rescue operations for any survivors." But there were no survivors. The devourers were not individuals who had chosen to work together. They were parts of a single organism that happened to be spread across many bodies. When the organism died, all the parts died with it. Lieutenant, Colonel Shin's artificial intelligence systems were analyzing the enemy technology as fast as the ships were destroyed. "Sir, I am learning a lot about how the enemy ships work. This information will be very useful for defending against similar threats in the future." "Good," Park said. "Make sure everything is recorded and transmitted to Earth Command. The battle was winding down. In 23 minutes, the human fleet had destroyed over 1,800 enemy ships. The remaining few hundred were scattered and helpless. Some were trying to flee, others were trying to hide. A few were still trying to fight, but they were no longer a threat to anyone. Captain Yoon's destroyer found the last significant group of enemy ships near the 4th planet. Admiral, we have 37 enemy vessels trying to establish a defensive position around the planet. They seem to be protecting something." "Investigate," Park ordered, "but maintain safe distance." Captain Yoon's ship moved closer to the planet. His sensors detected something that made him pause. "Sir, there are alien civilian ships on the planet's surface. I think the enemy was trying to capture them." Admiral Park's expression hardened slightly. The Devourers had not just been trying to destroy the alien fleets, they had been trying to capture alien civilians, probably to turn them into part of the hive mind. "All ships in the area," Park said. "Destroy those enemy vessels immediately." The last 37 Devourer ships were eliminated in 90 seconds. They died defending something they would never be able to use, because the hive mind that would have told them what to do with the captured aliens no longer existed. The battle was over. In 25 minutes, the human fleet had completely destroyed an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for 6 months. Not a single human ship had been damaged. Not a single human life had been lost. The silence after the battle was louder than the battle itself. Space around the Altair system was filled with debris from destroyed ships, but there was no more fighting, no more explosions, no more death. Just the quiet emptiness of space and the soft hum of human ship engines. Admiral Park Jin-woo stood on his bridge and looked out at the battlefield. 25 minutes ago, this had been the site of the galaxy's greatest crisis. Now it was just another star system with some cleanup, work to do. "Communications," Park said calmly. "Open a channel to all alien fleet commanders." The main screen split into 3 parts. Admiral Kristara's crystal body was still glowing, but now it was glowing with amazement, instead of fear. Fleet Commander Aquaden's gills were working overtime as he tried to process what he had just witnessed. Queen Admiral Buzzeth's remaining arms were shaking slightly. "Admiral Park," Admiral Christhara said finally, Is it over?" "The immediate threat has been eliminated," Park replied. "My ships are now conducting search and rescue operations for any survivors from your fleets. We have medical facilities available if you need them." "Survivors?" Fleet Commander Aquaden asked. "You mean some of our people are still alive?" Captain Lee Somin stepped forward to answer. "Yes, Commander. We detected several escape pods and damaged ships with life signs. Our rescue teams are already bringing your people aboard our medical ships." The alien commanders looked at each other in disbelief. They had been so focused on the incredible human victory that they had not thought about their own casualties. The fact that the humans were already conducting rescue operations while the debris was still glowing was another shock. "How many of our ships survived?" Queen Admiral Buzzeth asked quietly. Lieutenant Bei Su Jin consulted her sensors. "Ma'am, we count 437 alien vessels still operational. Most have damage, but they can be repaired." Admiral Christhara's crystal body began to dim slightly. "We started this battle with 800 ships. We lost more than half our forces." "But you are alive," Admiral Park said gently. "Your species will continue. Your civilizations will rebuild. The alternative was total extinction." Fleet Commander Aquaden was studying his own sensor readings. "Admiral Park, my instruments show no human casualties at all. How is that possible?" "Our shields held," Park replied simply. "But the enemy weapons destroyed our strongest ships in seconds," Queen Admiral Buzzeth protested. "Those same weapons hit your ships many times." Dr. Kim Hyejin spoke up. "Your ships were designed to fight other ships like yours. Our ships were designed to fight any possible enemy we might encounter. The difference in defensive capability is significant." Admiral Christhara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice sounded different, smaller. "Admiral Park, how long have humans been preparing for this kind of war?" "Approximately 300 years, Park answered honestly. 300 years! Fleet Commander Aquaden could not hide his shock. "But humans only joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. You were preparing for space wars before you even knew other species existed?" "Yes," Park said. "We assumed that if life existed on Earth, it probably existed elsewhere too. We also assumed that not all alien species would be friendly, so we prepared for the worst possible scenarios." Queen Admiral Buzzeth was beginning to understand something that frightened her. "What you are saying is that humans have been preparing to fight us since before we met you." "Not you specifically," Park said. "But yes, we have been preparing to fight alien species for centuries. We have weapons designed to work against every type of technology we could imagine. Ships built to survive any kind of attack we could think of. Tactics developed to defeat enemies we had never seen." The alien commanders were silent again. They were starting to realize that what they had just witnessed was not humans rising to meet an unexpected challenge. It was humans using tools they had been building for longer than most alien civilizations had existed. Admiral Christhara asked the question they were all thinking. "How many weapons do you have that we have never seen?" Dr. Kim looked at Admiral Park, who nodded slightly. "The weapons we use today represent approximately 12% of our total military capability," she said. 12%? Fleet Commander Aquaden's gills stopped moving entirely. The weapons we used were appropriate for the threat level, Park explained. We do not use antimatter bombs to kill insects. What would you use antimatter bombs for? Queen Admiral Buzzeth asked, though she was not sure she wanted to know the answer. Larger threats, Park said simply. Captain Lee So-min was monitoring the rescue operations. Admiral, we have recovered 843 alien survivors so far. Most are in critical condition, but our medical teams expect full recovery for 90% of them. Good, Park said. Make sure they receive the best possible care. Admiral Christhera was watching the human rescue ships work. They moved with the same efficient precision as the warships had. Every movement was planned. Every action served a purpose. Even their mercy was systematic. Admiral Park, she said, why are you helping us? You could have just destroyed the enemy and left. Park looked at her with something that might have been surprise. You are not our enemy. Why would we not help you? Because you are so much more powerful than us, Admiral Christhera said. Most species would use that power to dominate others. Most species did not grow up on a planet where cooperation was necessary for survival, Park replied. Humans learned long ago that helping others usually helps yourself in the long run. Fleet Commander Aqua Den was studying the human fleet formation. Even at rest, the ships maintained perfect positioning. Admiral, may I ask you something about your tactics? Of course. How did you know exactly what to do? Aqua Den asked. You studied the enemy for 20 minutes and then executed a perfect attack plan. We studied them for 6 months and could barely slow them down. Dr. Seo Kyung-ho answered this time. You were studying them while you were fighting them. Fighting and learning are two different activities that require different mindsets. We separated them. Also, added Dr. Kim Hye-jin, we were not trying to understand the enemy species. We were trying to understand the enemy as a system. Once we realized they were a hive mind with a central command structure, the solution became obvious. Obvious? Queen Admiral Buzzeth buzzed in disbelief. Destroy the command structure and the system collapses, Dr. Kim explained. It is a basic principle of systems analysis. Admiral Park received a communication from his engineering teams. Sir, analysis of enemy technology is complete. The Devourers were using biological quantum networks for ship control and communication. Very sophisticated, but also very fragile when you know how to attack the quantum substrate. Will this technology be useful for defense purposes? Park asked. Possibly, the engineering officer said. But it would be easier to develop countermeasures against similar threats. The alien commanders listened to this exchange with growing unease. The humans were already analyzing the enemy technology and developing ways to fight similar enemies. In the future, they were turning today's crisis into tomorrow's preparation. Admiral Park, Admiral Christhera said carefully. What happens now? Now we make sure this does not happen again, Park replied. My government will want to establish a permanent fleet presence in this sector. We will also want to trace the enemy back to their point of origin and make sure there are no more threats lurking out there. Fleet Commander Aqua Den was beginning to understand the full implications of what had just happened. You are talking about humans taking responsibility for defending this entire region of space. Someone has to, Park said. Your fleets have been reduced to less than half strength. It will take years for you to rebuild. In the meantime, there may be other threats. Queen Admiral Buzzeth asked the question that was troubling all of them. And what do you want in return for this protection? Admiral Park looked genuinely puzzled. Want in return? We do not want anything. Protecting this region protects human interests too. If threats like the Devourers are allowed to grow unchecked, they will eventually threaten Earth. The alien commanders exchanged glances. They were used to protection coming with a price. Military alliances that demanded tribute, defense agreements that included territorial concessions, trade deals that favored the stronger party. But the humans seemed to be offering protection simply because it was the logical thing to do. This was almost more frightening than their military power. Admiral Christhera said slowly, "Are you saying that humans will defend our worlds without asking for anything in return?" "We are saying that we will defend this region of space because it needs to be defended," Park corrected. "Your worlds happen to be in this region." Admiral Park received another communication. "Sir, Admiral Dayho's diplomatic vessel has arrived. He requests permission to come aboard." "Granted," Park said. "Have him escorted to Conference Room Alpha." Thunder. Alien commanders watched as a sleek human diplomatic ship approached the dreadnought. Even their diplomatic vessels looked more advanced than most military ships. "Admiral Park," Fleet Commander Aquadin said, "before your diplomat arrives, may I ask one more question?" "Of course."